Assessment of Student Learning, presented by Dr. James O. Webb, Jr. Hello, my name is Dr. James O. Webb, and I'm a faculty member at the University of Phoenix, Nashville campus. I'm also one of the CFALs there. I'm sure you're familiar with the CFAL program by now. Over the last few months, we've been collecting data in order to assess the student learning outcome. Well, at this time, we've now collected enough data that we're going to use the assessment management tool to view our outcome and to see what areas we need to make as far as modifications. So if you would, let's go ahead and get started. Here is the agenda that we'll be using for today. First, we'll discuss the roles and responsibilities of a campus faculty assessment liaison. We will then discuss what is called the assessment loop, used for collecting data and reporting. And then finally, we will discuss and to include a demonstration of the assessment management tool, commonly referred to as the AMT. Here are my roles and responsibilities as a CFAL. 1. I provide training to the faculty to introduce you to the CFAL program and to express to you the benefits in which the CFAL program offers to you as a faculty as well as to the students. 2. I queue dynamic connected reports. Reports that can be used for us to analyze and to assess the student learning outcome. And finally, together, we use those reports and we can analyze the student learning outcome. I'll facilitate meetings and I'll continue to upload documents to the management assessment tool in order for us to further define and to reassess how well we're doing as a campus. We will now discuss the assessment loop. Step 1. We begin the assessment loop by planning. In the assessment planning phase, we identify which courses that we're going to assess and establish the rubrics that are going to be used for evaluating the student's progress. Step 2. We then begin by collecting evidence and analyzing the data. The evidence is the results of what the students has produced by use of the rubrics. We then analyze that data. This is where we are today. We're analyzing the results of the data that had been collected over the past few months. Step 3. We then close the loop by implementing improvements. We will then discuss, based on the results of the data we've collected, we will analyze it and then identify some areas in which we can possibly improve to further enhance the student learning outcome. Step 4, closing the loop. We will then monitor the effectiveness of the improvements that we had identified during step 3. The next step is a combination of, if there's more improvements that need to be made, we will then go back to the assessment planning by adding in additional curriculum, additional courses that we want to include as far as for the next cycle. And also, we will then, based on the course that we have identified previously, we'll continue to collect data from those courses as well, as far as for to be analyzed. The assessment management tool. This tool is used to manage and organize our programmatic assessment data that we collect from the course embedded rubrics. There are program-specific outcomes for all of our courses. So for each course, there is a defined program-specific outcome in which we are now trying to assess. To enter the AMT, the first thing is for me to log in. So therefore, I will log in now and include my password. Once into the system, it will identify you as far as the level that you're currently logged in as. I can log in as either a CFAL or I can log in as faculty. Next, there will be several tabs which we'll discuss in a few minutes along the top. The home tab is where we start, and then you have document room, planning, and reports, and to include messages that I might receive and any pending tasks. Today's news, any archive news, in order to provide you with feedback. Now, as we review this page, you'll find is a very simplistic layout as far as how we go about it, as far as using this AMT tool. First, this is the home page. Anytime you want to come back here, you just click home. Next, we're given a bunch of options that we can change in which we use this tool. The first is appearance. I can change the color, the way it looks. Next, password, where I can select a new password. View, in order to show the various types of views, either as a C file or as a faculty, as far as selecting my default view. And the account, in order to change which accounts I'm currently responsible for, such as the Associate of Arts with a concentration in Information Technology in Nashville, as well as the Bachelor of Science in Information Technology at Nashville. After reviewing those, then we can go up to what's considered the document room. The document room is just a list of archived files in which I can review as far as that are associated with this program. Things such as the assessment calendar, reports, and exactly the training applications, upcoming seminars, conferences, some assessment templates, and so on. Planning, we're going to use this one a lot in later on during this discussion. Planning is where we'll identify and we'll review the student learning outcomes and identify some of the areas or improvements in which we think we would like to make in order to enhance the student learning outcome. And then finally, reports. There's various reports that we'll be able to produce and to print out from here. Again, this is just a quick overview of the overall AMT tool. We'll go into a little more detail as far as what the real data is produced in a few minutes. Okay, now we'll review the reports. In the report section, it'll provide us with the various types of reports that are already predefined for our assessment tool. We can pull up reports by program by PSLO and rubric criteria, or PSLO by demographics, or rubric criteria by PSLO. These will make more sense in just a few minutes. For the first one, let's look at a program by PSLO and rubric criteria. On this screen, once we configure and define what we want our screen to look like, we can save it and come back, therefore not having to make any changes. The default is set up whereas the various programs in which I have access to are either the Associate of Arts with a concentration in Information Technology and a Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. Those are the programs in which I am able to review. Next, we can compare these the results based on a national average, based on all online students, based on all local campuses being not online, but in the actual brick and mortar type campus, or we can select individual campuses, okay? Individual campuses, as you can see, there's a whole list of anything that's not grayed out I can access, such as Atlanta, Augusta, I can access Baton Rouge, so on and so forth. These are all the campuses which I can compare our results against. Okay? Next, the date range. The date range we can select as far as what is the range of dates that we want to include in our report. By default, it's set for September of last year, September the 1st, 2014, and the data gathering ended in July the 1st, 2015. So that's the range of data that we're going to use. Next, as far as our display for the report, the options, we can have it include the date stamp to identify the date in which this report was prepared. Who it was prepared by can be included on the report, or include disabled PSLOs. For right now, we're going to leave everything just the way it is. Okay? Again, if I wanted to save if I wanted to make some changes that I was going to use regularly, such as if there's another date range I wanted to use, then what I could do is I could, and I'm going to use it regularly, often, I could have saved that report with, save those parameters in a different file, and therefore, when I go to previously saved report parameters, I can choose from that listing of other parameters which I've already predefined and saved. Okay, we will now display the report based on these defined parameters. Just click Report, Display Report. Okay, the report that I just selected was the program by PSLO and rubric criteria, and these are the results. Next, we will then go step by step and analyze what these results have produced for us. Okay, let's do a quick overview of exactly what we're seeing on the screen. In the upper left-hand corner are the parameters. This is a reminder of the parameters that we set for this particular report. As you can see, the program we're going to be looking at is the IS&T Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. We're also going to be, this report is a national view. That means a national includes all campuses throughout the University of Phoenix, both online and local. The date range from September the 1st, 2014 until July the 1st, 2015. Those are the parameters that we've established for this particular report. Next, you'll then see we can choose if we wanted this report to come up in a new window. We can just click the selection here. We could save this report into the document room. Remember, that's where the archive is of all the different things pertaining to the AMT tool. We could download this report, so we can have a copy, and it can save it in various formats, such as a PDF file if we wanted to. And then lastly, on this top row is email. I could then email this particular report to whoever I wanted to. Next, you'll see up underneath there the date this report was presented and who it was prepared by. Now, the program's student learning outcomes are listed here throughout the screen. For this particular one that we're looking at, the student learning outcome number 1, there was no data that was collected for that. This would have been students will be able to apply key principles of system analysis and design to selected business processes within the organization in order to implement effective information systems. Again, so there was no data that was displayed for that particular, so no data was really collected for that particular student outcome, nor for number 2. Now, let's go to the one in which data was collected. For student learning outcome number 3, it says students will be able to explain implementation, integration, and maintenance for IT applications to support selected business processes. Now, this data was collected from CMGT 445, week 3's individual assignment. The assignment was to create an implementation plan. We can actually now see the results from that as far as based on the rubric that from teacher's assessment. As far as for implementation, 77% met or exceeded the expectations. In regards to integration, 78% met or exceeded the expectations. And in regards to maintenance, 78%. Now, you'll also see the screen on the right, which again is just a duplication of what you've seen here on the left-hand side, but in a more graphic form, right? On the horizontal bar chart. Now, further, we'll break this down a little further to see how many students are actually included in that assessment. The total number of signature assignments scored, there was 1,449, and the total number of students that were in that population was 1,437. I cannot explain the delta because you would think it was one, there should have been a student for each one of those. Maybe the remainder of 12 students actually did not take that assignment, did not complete the assignment. That's the only thing I can assume. Next, student learning outcome number 4. Students will be able to explain information system security that will comply with key requirements of accepted industry standards to support and improve the security of the organization's systems. This assessment came from CMGT 400, the week 4 assignment, the role of information security policy. For this particular assessment, the criteria, the rubric criteria was need for security measures in IT organizations and information systems. 88% of the data collected of the students met or exceeded the expectations. For organizational policies contributing to information security, 84% of the students met or exceeded the expectations. And then finally, techniques and methods for securing information assets, 87% of the students met or exceeded the expectations. So we have a very high percentage of students that actually met or exceeded our expectations for that particular assignment, for that week 4 assignment. And again, on the horizontal bar chart, we just see a graphical representation of the students' assessment, of those that exceeded or met the expectations. Of that population, there was 896 students that were actually scored within that, or that were included in this data collection. 894 students totaled. 896 signature assignments scored, and number of students, 894. Ooh, that, it seemed like somehow another 2 extra students were counted that are not part of that overall student population. I'm not going to worry about that part. Can't answer the question. Then, as far as for student outcome, for 5, there was no data collected. 6, no data collected. 7, no data collected. Now, as we go down to the student learning outcome for assignment number 8, students will be able to design and develop a website using selected professional web design principles and standards to facilitate the professional appearance of an organization. This signature assignment came from the Web 240 course, and it was the week 4 assignment. Week 4, web design and development, interactive features. So for those who are teaching these courses, you should recall, if you were teaching one of these courses in which we collected data, you should recall that particular assignment in which we had informed you that you were not allowed to change that rubric, and that we were going to collect data from that. Now, on the national average, we'll see 77% scored that applies design elements effectively. As far as design effective navigation, 74% met or exceeded. Develops accurate and functional markup code, 68% met or exceeded expectations. And then lastly, manages files effectively, 81%. We'll notice that there is a remarkable drop as far as develop accurate and functional markup code. So that kind of highlights for us an area in which we need to provide additional additional support as far as to gain or to increase the student learning outcome to a higher level. For this assessment, the total number of signature assignments scored, there was 1,063. Total number of students, 1,059. Now, this report was based on the national average. What we want to do now is we now want to compare that to those students within our campus. Well, we can also, again, that was a national, that's combined both online and local. Keeping that in mind, now let's look at online for the exact same period of time. These are just the online. Okay. For the online, and again, now we can just go up and we can review the parameter again just to make sure as online is selected, and online is. These results that we're looking at now are just for those students that took these courses online. Again, we're going to look at the exact same courses. For CMGT 445, week 3, individual assignment, implementation plan, it was 78% met or exceeded. Integration, 79%. Maintenance, 80%. As we go down to student learning objective for number 4, the students will be able to explain information system security that will comply with key requirements of accepted industry standards to support and improve the security of the organization systems. We'll now see that there is 88% for needs, in essence, for the CMGT 400, week 4, the role of information security policy. There's 88% for the need for security measures in IT organizations and information systems, 84% for organizational policies contributing to information security, and 88% for techniques and methods for securing information assets. Of that, 1,086, number of students, 1,077. For student learning outcome number 4, was that the one we just did? No, student level outcome number 4, need for security measures in IT organizations and information systems, 88%. Organization policies contributing to information security, 84%. Techniques and methods for securing information assets, 88%. And here's our population of the number of students, 640, and the number of signature assignments scored, 642. Then finally, the last one that we scored was student learning outcome number 8, was students will be able to design and develop a website using selected professional web design principles and standards to facilitate the professional appearance of an organization. For applies design elements effectively, 77%. Designs effective navigation, 73%. Develops accurate and functional markup code, 67%. And lastly, manages files effectively, 81%. Of that population, there was 906 is the signature assignment scored, and 902 is the total number of students. Now, let's change our parameters now just to compare that to those students that were at the local campuses, all local campuses throughout, and see how they powered. Let's see, didn't do it yet. Online, nope, all local campuses. Update report. Okay, for that one, student learning outcome, students will be able to explain, implement, integrate, and maintenance for IT applications to support selected business processes. For implementation, 73, integration, 75, maintenance, 73. Of that, total number of students was 360, and the number of signature assignments is 363. For student learning outcome number 4, students will be able to explain information system securities that will comply with key requirements of accepted industry standards to support and improve the security of the organization's systems. 88% met or exceeded expectations for the need for security measures in IT organizations and information systems. 85% met or exceeded organizational policies contributing to information security, and 85% for techniques and methods for securing information assets. Again, our horizontal bar chart, which reflects the same information. Of that, there was only 254 students, and of the 254, there was 254 signature assignments that were scored. Again, no data was collected for student learning outcomes number 5, 6, and 7. Finally, student learning outcome number 8. Students will be able to design and develop a website using selected professional web design principles and standards to facilitate the professional appearance of an organization. The results, 78%, and this is from, again, the Web 240, Week 4, Web Design and Development, Interactive Features. 78% met or exceeded the requirement as far as for applies design elements effectively. 79% for designs effective navigation. 73% for develops accurate and functional markup code. And 81% for manages files effectively. Of that population, there was 157 students, and there was 157 signature assignments scored. Now that we've seen what the data looks like across the spectrum of the national, online, and all local campuses, now let's focus in on just Nashville to see how well we did. Selected individual campuses. We'll now go down and find Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville. Chattanooga. Nope, I must have passed it. There it is. Nashville. We select Nashville. And for the same time period, September the 1st, 2014 to July the 1st, 2015, we'll select Update Report. Now, all of these results, I will create at the end of this briefing a matrix in which we will use to compare ourselves against national, online, and local campuses for these results. Okay, it's now updated. Let's see how well we did. First of all, again, no data is collected for student learning outcomes number 1, 2, and 2. For number 3, students will be able to explain implementation, integration, and maintenance for IT applications to support selected national processes. Now, for implementation, 92% of our students met or exceeded expectations. 85% met or exceeded our expectations for integration, and 92% met or exceeded our expectations for maintenance. You're going to find that we scored very well in comparison to the baseline for like national, online, and local campuses in this particular area. Of this assessment, the number of students in which we assessed was there was 13 students, and there was 13 signature assignments. Next, student learning outcome number 4. Students will be able to explain information systems security that will comply with key requirements of accepted industry standards to support and improve the security of the organization systems. Here we had a little problem. Of the CMGT 400 Week 4, the role of information security policies, we only had 60% of our students that met or exceeded expectations for the need for security measures in IT organizations and information systems. We had 100% that met or exceeded the organization's policies contributing to information security, but again, only 60% that met or exceeded the techniques and methods for securing information assets. For this particular analysis, there was only 5 students that were assessed, and the number of signature assignments, there was only 5. Student learner outcomes number 5, 6, and 7 were not used or were not assessed during this time period. Student learner outcome number 8. Students will be able to design and develop a website using selected professional web design principles and standards to facilitate the professional appearance of an organization. For this assessment, 88% of our students met or exceeded expectations for applies design elements effectively. 88% met or exceeded expectations for design effective navigation, 88% for develops accurate and functional markup code, and 88% for manages files effectively. For this assessment, we only had 8 students total that were assessed, and there were 8 signature assignments that were graded or recorded. Now for our exercise. We're going to discuss the PSLO and Rubik's criteria from the data that has been gathered. What I'd like you to do at this time is to discuss the findings from the national report and to compare and contrast that with the national average as well as the online and the local averages. Identify which areas you feel in which we excelled and which areas do we need to improve, and what can we do to improve. Next, also in your discussion, if you would, overall, do you think that students participating in local campuses rank higher or lower than students participating online?